So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got a great treat for you. So on Disney Plus at the moment, on their new channel Star, they've added probably the best series known to man, which is 24. And we've got our guest, which is James Morrison, a.k.a. Bill Buchanan, the best CTU director out there. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Nice to see you.
You too, my friend. And how is everything where you are? Because the US has had, well, a difficult time, but things look very rosy, and things look like they're on the up.
Yes, rosy is a good way to put it. I feel like they look rosy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know what, with the pandemic and everything, and obviously the elections, I think that the whole world, including the UK, we're definitely starting to now move in the right direction. I think there's a lot of relieved people in the US now going forwards. Obviously, we don't really talk about politics on the show because, one, it goes straight over my head. But for me, seeing a person and how they are, I think the right person is in the office. So congratulations to everyone out there that are Biden supporters. A lot of,
thank you.
You know what? I do not care if I'm, ruffling feathers for all the Trump fans. But I judge someone, on their impression that they give out. And Biden just seems a really nice guy, and he seems to know which direction to take the US in, and it looks like a very rosy one. Obviously, it's going to be a slow slog, but I'm sure it will get better soon. So how is everything?
I don't know about that. It's happening pretty quickly. I mean, in the last, 60 days or something. Great strides have been taken to change things up. So yeah, in lieu of getting political and like you say, ruffling feathers, which I don't mind doing, but I'm a guest in your house, so
you are my guest.
We're happy
you can
here,
say
man.
whatever you like. You can say whatever you like,
you,
James.
friend.
Because I love that comment on Instagram or Twitter. I can't remember which platform it was on. Something about bunkers. The fact that Biden's never seen the bunker. And
yeah.
Barack Obama has never seen the bunker as well.
That was a kind of a genius bit of trolling in such a different way than that we've gotten used to. I never really got used to it. It was just it's night and day, man. It's just the difference between someone who is kind, actually, and someone who isn't. I mean, I think if we distill it down to that, I think we're more accurate than if we go into great detail and examine the pathology of what happened in the last 4 years. But I think it's just the difference between kindness and unkindness.
Definitely. And do you think the impact of everything that's gone on in the US, do you think that that's going to take a massive toll on the arts? Because I know that a lot of theatres in the UK are starting to, reopen very, very soon. I think it's something like May the 18th when theatres can reopen again. I mean, is there any news on the US in getting the arts back to the people?
No, nothing that I've heard. We're not. Well, that's great news for you guys over there. I'm happy to hear that because it's not just on Broadway, but I mean, it's put millions of people out of work in the arts. And it's not just people on stage or in front of the camera. It's the residual effect, has its tentacles, everywhere, crafts people everywhere. So, yeah, I'm very happy to hear that for you guys. I haven't heard that about our industry at all.
Well, we'll see if it happens because people have got to behave and follow, the lockdown procedures, which, the other day, 60 people or something was caught in one house celebrating a baby's first birthday, when we're on complete lockdown. So it just shows that people aren't getting it. But, again, as you said, a lot of people are out of work. So we need to be following this lockdown and get this, the theatres back going, get the shows back filming. I know that a lot of people are going back now, definitely like Snowpiercer and The Flash and series like that are recording now, which is good news. So how is everything?
I just spent a week in New York with my friends at Law and Order SVU, so that was
awesome.
And that's the first time I'd worked since last March, and I was there doing it. It was the last job I had.
And how was everything with the precautions, with the masks and like I always say, did you have any Tom Cruise moments on set? Was everything all very?
Oh
good?
No. Everything was under control, and they had the protocols down. We were tested every day, and I was in quarantine for 3 days, including the flight day, and then tested before I started working. And the hardest part is remembering to put your mask back on after the director calls cut. You have to be reminded of that. And then a couple of times, one of the actors walked into the scene having forgotten to take their mask off. So that's always interesting.
Do you know what? I was speaking to another actor a couple of weeks ago, and he said that when he's filming scenes and he can take his mask off, it feels slightly strange, slightly dangerous, because you're not used to being around people now without your mask on. So it must be quite a weird sensation.
It was a strange feeling. It was a feeling of intimacy, actually, that I hadn't experienced in a long, long time. Being with a room full of people, and the funny thing is, it reminded me of, speaking of 24. We did a scene. I think it was season 6 when Jack comes back from China and he's on the big cargo plane that we know, and I'm standing there with Roger Cross, and we're waiting for the plane to taxi into position, and it's those things are gigantic, and their engines blow stuff everywhere for miles. So we turned around and looked at the crew, and it's 100. I don't know how many people. 75 to 100 people standing there watching us, and everybody's got their masks on. They've got gas masks, and we're standing out there with nothing, and I just turned to her and said, "This is really interesting, isn't it?" We were a little taken aback by that, and
yeah,
I guess because we're going to be there so briefly that they don't think we need protection.
But do you know what? I think on a positive, I think that once this is all over and we can not have to wear masks, I think that we're gonna. Appreciate that connection with people. I think we're going to appreciate having people around. I think that's going to come back, and I think that the humanity of it all, and I think we're going to appreciate it a lot more. I know that I can't wait to hug my dad and my mum. I haven't for the last year, so I just cannot wait. I really can't. But you know what? Let's talk about your beginning in the world of entertainment, because I was reading somewhere that one of your first jobs, you was a clown and wire walker, and I don't know if that's correct, and people would, I don't know, laugh and go, really? But I know how hard it is to juggle. I know how hard it is to juggle knives, unicycle. I wouldn't even try wire walking. How did that come about for you, and what got you into that? Because that's completely polar opposites to Bill Buchanan,
It sort of is, but it's interesting you say that, because I when I read for Jose Quintero, it was an American director from the 50s and 60s, and he's known for mostly Eugene O'Neill's work. He's considered to be the father of the off-Broadway movement. Because the first plays he did were actually that sort of a off-Broadway thing, and it became what it is today. But I auditioned for him for the Brick in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in 1983, and I ended up getting the part. But the reason that I did was I had auditioned for him, with him actually. He read the part of Maggie. in my audition. So and then he invited me to his house for dinner, and he said, "So tell me a little about yourself." And I said, "Well, I grew up in Alaska, and I was a little nervous, and so I just sort of, how your brain jumps around from event to event when somebody says, 'Tell me about yourself.'" And I said, "I was raised in Alaska, and I was a circus clown." And there was a pause, and his eyes got really big, and he went, "Oh, wait! I want you to do the part." And based on my having said that, it clicked. Something clicked. Speaking of Brick, because he's looking for the click. Something clicked in Jose's mind, and he said, "Okay, this is the guy I want." So I don't know if that answers your question, but I and people don't often think of me as a comic actor, but I was for a minute, and interestingly, my wife and I were surfing Netflix the other day, and I saw The Practice came up in a Private Practice came up in comedies in the comedy section, and I had done like 8 episodes of that, and I said, "Wow, that's interesting. I never really thought of that show as a comedy. It wasn't a comedy when I was on it." And she said, "Well, that's what you do to things."
So. You put your special little touch, James. But then fast forward, and we've got a TV series that has had 9 seasons and is being adored worldwide. And you starred in 4 of those seasons as Bill Buchanan, the CTU director. First of all, how did you get the role? Because it's such an awesome role, and I think throughout those seasons, your character and your character arc, your story arc, just gets better and better and better. So how did you get the actual role of Bill Buchanan? I mean, I heard through the grapevine that you actually never saw the show. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, no, to start with, I must say that they really did right by me on that show, and I'm eternally grateful to them, because I came out of nowhere, and my character came out of nowhere, and they really ended up seeing that there was a chemistry there, a weird chemistry between me and the show itself. I think that's what they saw, and I'm grateful to that. I hadn't seen the show before I auditioned, and I watched an episode where Jack Bauer kills some guy just point blank in the head, and he was an ally. I mean, and he did it because he had to, and I just went, wow, this show they'll do anything.
I think the episode that you're talking about is the Ryan Chappelle, which he had to kill.
Chappelle, yes, that's right. Yeah. And it just blew my mind because it was so brash and horrific, really. I mean, and this character, there wasn't a character like that on TV, and at the time that I remember, just somebody who would do whatever it took, And interestingly too, this is a kind of and I won't go off on a tangent, I promise, but people. In fact, I just saw this criticism leveled at the show the other day, how it was a far right wing, wet dream fantasy thing, and man, it just wasn't. It was a drama that raised the stakes, which is the job of the storyteller, to a point that, like comedians. I mean, they push the envelope. You have to go too far and then know how far you've gone, and that's what the show kept doing. They'd go too far and then pull it way back and say, "Hey, we went too far." Even the people in the show said, even the characters. Said, "My God, man, you've gone too far." I mean, it wasn't like and nobody advocated this kind of behavior to the actual government, except for the right wingers. I mean, I remember Dick Cheney saying something along the lines of, "We need to be more like Jack Bauer," and you go, "No, actually, you don't." And so, if there's a moral equivalent, it's actually showing what happens, and then saying, "So don't do this. This is wrong." And as a matter of fact, that's how my character's demise, how he met his demise, is because he he refused to do what everyone was saying. Or, well, the protagonist of the series was saying, this needs to be done, and Buchanan said no. And so as a result, he had to atone for his sins, and right.
Yeah. I mean,
history.
What did the audition look
like?
That
didn't answer your question. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Literally, I could listen to you for hours. It's awesome. I mean, what did the audition look like? I mean, anyone auditioning for 24?
Oh yes, we were talking about the audition. Yeah.
I mean, what did you have to do? Can you remember? Because it's quite a few
No,
years
it
ago.
wasn't. It wasn't anything extraordinary. I mean, it was just that they called me in, and I said, "No, I can't go. I'm going to Hawaii with my family." And I got these tickets that were frequent flyer miles, and we need a vacation from not working because I hadn't been working. But you need to get out after, because you do work. I mean, as we'll discuss when we talk about showing up. That's the job. Is you audition, and you do 6 or 7 of those in 2 weeks, and you don't get them, and pretty soon you go, man, I'm worn out. Yeah. So we needed a vacation, and I said, no, I can't go Thursday. We're leaving tomorrow. And my manager said, called me back and said, I just booked you another flight. Send your family without you. You're staying to do this thing. And wisely, I listened to him, and it's kind of a long, involved story, but in a nutshell, the show wanted me for the part, but I was already on a show on Fox as a recurring character. So the network said, no, you can't use him. He's already doing something. And my manager went the extra mile and convinced them to make me look different, basically. And that's what they all agreed to. So that's why when I came in season 4, I had black hair and because in the other show I just had my. So they did make me look different. In fact, they initially made me a beard like this with a a goatee and a mustache and to wear in the show. And I just, everybody just said, no, he can't. He can't.
And imagine that, you went to Hawaii and you didn't get that role. It's just crazy that you could have missed out. Is he still your agent or is he long gone?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, he's still my manager, Mitch Clem, and I'll never leave him, just because of that. He's the nicest guy in show business too. That has a lot to do with it. But the other thing is, we went for Christmas actually, but the Christmas break. So we had the 2 weeks to wait to hear, and that's when all that sort of drama went down with the casting and the network and stuff. And when I got back, but the audition itself was just me and every other actor my age that you always see at the auditions, and you get to know them. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Hey, good luck. When you leave. Mm-hmm. And it was just a little teeny scene. It was like, as I remember, it was 3 or 4 lines. It wasn't that much. They just wanted to. I don't know what they were looking for, and I don't know if they did. They just knew it when they saw it, and I'm glad they did.
So you get the phone call to say that you've got the part of Bill Buchanan. How do you prepare for a role like that? I mean, what did you do to prepare to be, a CTU?
I watched as much of the show as I could.
Oh God!
Up to that point, because I wanted to. In fact, I think I, like everybody else then, I binged it. I mean, as much as we could back then. They didn't have the access to streaming like we do now. But I think I got the DVDs and watched them all. As much as I could, just to get a feeling of the show. But it was easy really, because you're completely in the moment. It's in real time, so the moment is the most important thing. There's a little bit of a backstory, and I had a relationship with Michelle that I had to flesh out a little bit. But they didn't tell me much. They didn't volunteer much. I just stepped into it like I was jumping aboard a train that was already moving, and they wouldn't slow down for me, and I had to
It's
do my
literally
best.
that is such a good way of putting it. Is that that fast train, and you had to just jump on, and just because the show was just full on, and to binge watch it, I think, is the best way to watch it, because you always finish an episode and you think, oh, come on, I've got to play the next one. So that's the great thing about it being on Star Channel now and Disney Plus. So you get obviously you get the part, and the norm, according to Xander Berkeley, that's been on the show as well, is that you tend to only get signed on for a couple of episodes because you can get cut at any time. I mean, was that the case for you when you joined the cast? Was you contracted to just a few episodes, or was it for the whole season?
Well, they signed you for 2 at a time because they filmed 2 episodes simultaneously. So we would do which was unique to my experience, and I think to everyone's experience. I've never heard before or since of a show doing that. Maybe they do now, but they were groundbreaking in a lot of areas in their execution, the way they shot, the way they edited, the music was phenomenal. To take a scene of a guy pushing a gurney down the hallway with a patient on it and have the Sean Callery, yeah. I'm just remembering that off the top of my head. Yeah, the amazing music driving the thing and the editing with the boxes. But I'm sorry, I lost track of your question.
No, the fact that you only get signed on for a couple of episodes. Yeah,
two episodes at a time. Yes, and so you're always you get the script for the next episode and you sort of thumb through it just to go, oh, am I still alive at the end? That was what it was like for about the first 10 that I did. And then in between the 4th and the 5th, they offered me the season, so I knew that I would last unless something went horribly wrong through the next season. But for the first 10, I was episode to episode, sure.
And throughout all those days or seasons, as people call them, you have so many awesome scenes. You really, really do. I mean, what's your own personal favourite? Your favourite storyline or scene that you had to film that you walked away from thinking, "Wow, I really enjoyed that."
I really enjoyed working with Sean Astin on his little guest arc that he did. We had some great stuff together, and in terms of him coming in and my, the power dynamic, they love to play with that. They did the same thing with with Karen when she came in, and then we of course became husband and wife, which was a nice thing. But it began out of a power struggle, just like mine did when I came aboard, and they had just brought Michelle and Tony back in,
Yeah.
And they had that sort of the relationships going on, and my character never really got involved in that until, as I said, with Karen. But she was in D.C. and I was in L.A., so it was always on the phone. Now we were having a phone marriage,
Yeah, them long distance relationships never work.
It didn't, as it turned out.
But we see you in season or day 7. Come to the end of your time on 24. What an awesome scene it really, really is. I mean, how far ahead did you realise that was going to be the end for Bill Buchanan? Because before, actually, I just wanted to say the scene where you're on the telephone and Bauer rings through because Tony's given the code and everything like that. And the moment that you take your hand away from the phone and you say to Bauer, it's Bill. What was that like?
My voice was being distorted.
Yeah. I mean, that scene was awesome.
Call you. Tony Almeida. He gave me this whole CTU emergency phone code. Deep Sky.
It's Bill, Jack.
Bill, what the hell's going on?
Where is Tony?
FBI headquarters. He's been arrested.
At the beginning of season 7, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I'm remembering, yeah. That was all just sort of revealed. I wasn't involved in the. In fact, I purposely stayed away from pitching any ideas or talking to them about stuff because I didn't want to. That was their thing, and also I didn't have that kind of relationship with them. I mean, I dearly love Howard Gordon, and I respect him greatly, but I just didn't have that kind of sit down and talk to him about stuff, relationship in that way. And I purposely avoided it because I didn't want to cross a certain line. But for instance, I didn't have the same relationship there that I did with, say, Glenn Morgan. We became great friends, and we could talk about character stuff, and he would say, he would incorporate my personal life into the storyline and stuff. And but I knew that 24 and those guys were writing a different sort of formula, and they had to have it figured out. The storyline. As I mean, see, and to this day, I mean, I don't even know how they worked. I just didn't get involved with them in their process like I have, say, with Glenn. It was a different relationship.
I mean, we see you towards the middle of season 7, and that scene where you sacrifice yourself, which I think's awesome, which was unexpected. Literally, you didn't know what was going to happen, and then all of a sudden it dawned on you, what's happened. You sacrifice yourself. How far ahead did you find out that was going to happen? Did you know when you started season 7?
No. I knew that, of course, every like I said, every day you look at the script and go, "Oh, am I dead or alive?" I mean, I knew it could happen any time. Yeah, I mean, that's just sort of that was the given, that you were a planet that revolved around this sun, and at any moment, this alien force could come and blow you out of the sky, and you sort of take that for granted. You're like the warrior that goes into war going, well, I'm already dead, so there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
That's the way you had to approach it. But Howard, speaking of Howard Gordon, called me before we started filming that episode, I think, or maybe it was 2 episodes before it or 1 episode before. Anyway, he called me and said, "Listen, this is the call that I hate to make." And I said, I hate you to make it, because I knew what was coming. And he said, "But we'll make it a good one." And that was actually the only time I actually did pitch something. I said, if you can make it be about the torture issue, have it tied into that torture issue, because we've already gone there. I don't know if that's what you're thinking, but I'm just going to sort of plant that seed. And he said, "Yeah, great, okay, we'll put that into the mix, into that thought process." And sure enough, they did, yeah. So the character got to go heroically, which was nice because he deserved that.
And what was it like to film that scene? So I presume you're not the one in the fireball, but what was it like to film, and what did it feel like after you filmed? Because that must have been quite sombering, to be fair, because that's the end for you on the show.
Yeah, it was an emotional day, and as I remember, I took my boy to the set for the first time, I think, for that, and how old was he at the time? He was 7, maybe.
Wow.
And it was an emotional day because you're man, I spent a lot of time with those people and became really close with some of them. I went on vacation with some of the crew. You never do that when you're working. In fact, if anything, you go on vacation to get away from the people you work with.
Yeah, that's true.
So we were close, and it was a fitting and beautiful day, and they were hugs and tears, and
Oh, bless! And you was honoured with a silent clock at the end. Which I think
got the silent clock, yeah.
The silent clock, which is awesome. Did you manage to keep any mementos from the show, from your time on 24?
Well, let's see. I mean, I still have a robe that I got when I was there. You always get stuff from the network at Christmas, and I think I still have one of the I mean, yeah, I have little things that are, but mostly I have the memory of working with an amazing crew and cast, and I mean, that's just stuff that as a freelance actor, to be able to have that kind of steady employment for that long. I mean, that's a beautiful and rare treat, and I think that's the thing that sticks with me the most. And I did learn a lot too. I mean, I learned a lot about the craft of filmmaking. In fact, we shot in such a unique way because of the combination of the way the directors worked, the way the crew ended up working together, and the DP and everything. That I would go to other shows afterwards, and it would be hard for me to not say, when we were the way we did it on 24. You can't say that because.
Oh no! So 2024 is like your band camp. It's like band camp,
Yeah, it was hard to keep from saying that stuff, but it was it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah. So I own a few pieces from 24, which I've bought it over the time. I've got Jack Bauer's shirt and jeans from day 5. So screen worn.
Oh wow!
Which unfortunately they're in a hanger in my wardrobe. Believe it or not, I haven't even had time to display them. And then I got a nice.
Did you get the magic bag? He had a magic bag that he carried around. Remember that shoulder bag with the.
Yeah.
That thing had. Who knows what that thing had in it? It was like a. It was like one of those things where you could reach your arm all the way in and pull out an elephant,
a Mary Poppins bag. Yeah, Mary Poppins.
A Mary Poppins bag. Yeah, that's right. That's what it was.
No, I've never seen one of those for sale because the sponsors of the show, Prop Store, they sell everything from movies and TV shows, and they have got a few pieces, and I'm yet to find something from Bill Buchanan's wardrobe, but I'll keep on searching.
I mean, what did I wear? I wore the same suit, and the same tie. I mean,
yeah,
except for the last season, I guess.
I mean, I presume they had the same version of suit, but like quite a few of them, because I can't imagine.
I think they had
same suit.
They had a couple, yeah. In case I spilled coffee on my. Spaghetti sauce or something.
Yeah. So I've got a few fan questions about 24. We've got Lisa Coburn James. It says here, if Bill was to have appeared in an earlier or later seasons, which day would he have liked to have been in, and what would it have been the storyline or the characters from that season? So what day would you have liked to have appeared in that you hadn't?
I was just thinking about this actually, and I don't know why I rehash the past. I'm trying to get over it, but I sometimes I think how nice it would have been if I hadn't gotten the silent clock, if he'd just been taken out of commission, and never shown up again. So you never know when he's going to reappear, and then have him come back as the guy. I think it was maybe it was season 8. There's a guy with long hair, and he's an arms dealer of some kind, and Bill could have been that guy with a scar on his face from being blown up, and how cool it would have been if his life had just been destroyed by this blast and he lost everything, and now he's dealing in arms. I thought that would have been a cool thing, but I didn't. It didn't even occur to me to pitch the idea that, wait a minute, do you have to kill me? Could you just maybe blow one of my arms off, or have me come back later, a couple of seasons later when you don't expect it? But it just didn't occur to me. I just thought, well, okay, that was it. That's it. Adios. Thank you.
But anything could happen in 24. It really can. The amount of twists and the turns. I mean, again, Tony was presumed dead, and look what happened to Tony. He came back, and
Yeah.
but yeah. So we've got another question here. Deb Louise Vandersmit, what a name. Love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
How did he like working with Kiefer? That's my question. And I mean, I've met Kiefer twice now, while going to his concerts in the UK with his band. And he seems very, very nice. And I mean, what's your impression of Kiefer? Because I know Freddie Prinze Jr. came out in the press, slating the man, saying he was very unprofessional.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't
was,
know if two
that was...
people just didn't get on, because we don't all get on. We're all different people. I mean...
Well, the other thing, too, is, even if it was a horrible experience, and I've had horrible experiences, and working with Kiefer was not a horrible experience.
Mm.
He's a really hardworking, dedicated, focused, and knowledgeable actor, and he was playing a really hard part. So he's focused and dedicated, and he only wanted the show to be good as it can be, and we all knew that. I mean, but the thing about that is, man, you never talk about what people you work with in a negative light. You just don't. That's the second thing. The first thing is, I had a great time working with Kiefer. I learned a lot from him, actually, because I've never done action stuff before, or, that kind of show. And I mean, arguably, with the exception of a show like maybe Peaky Blinders, which is one of my favorite shows ever, there's just nothing that level of intensity. It's hard to match that level of intensity that we had on that show. So when you can stand toe to toe with somebody and create that kind of energy, and I have seen our work together, and I saw the chemistry that we had working together. It was respect. I mean, we had respect for each other, and so I had a great time.
Do you know what? I've introduced my wife to 24, and she said to me when we was watching it the other night, she went, "Is he always like this?" Pointing to Jack.
What's that?
And I went, what do you mean? Is he always like this? And she went, he's always yelling and running. I went, yeah, that's Jack. He never has a relaxing time. He's got a lot to deal with. But it's really refreshing because the impression that I got of him is, I've met him after his concerts, and when he's been all day at a convention, then he's come on the tour bus, done a show, and then he must have been so tired. But yeah, he takes time for the fans. He smiles. He's not horrible. So it's quite refreshing to hear. Yeah. So we've got another question from Katie Lester, the friend of the show, Katie Lester. She's
Katie,
asked,
yeah.
Yes,
Katie.
Good old Katie. She says, can you ask James what it was like to work with people like Johnny Lee Miller and Meghan Markle? Because she was in Eli Stone,
I saw that on Eli Stone. I did an episode of, and also Suits.
Yes.
And in fact, I just spoke with Gabriel, my old friend Gabriel that I worked with before on another thing too. We just spoke the other day, as a matter of fact. But I don't remember working with. I'm sorry to say this. I don't remember working with either of them because I don't know if I did or if it was just in passing or, I remember that she was on the show, and I remember that of course it was Johnny's show.
Yeah.
But I think my storyline didn't intersect with their characters or something. But lovely actors, both of them, and she's certainly in the spotlight now.
She is. I'm watching tonight at 9:00 in the UK. Is her interview?
It hasn't aired there yet.
No. So I don't know what's been said. And
I didn't see it, but oh God, I can't wait to hear the reaction to it from you guys.
To be fair, though, my view is, I just feel sorry for her. I really do. Partly because, joining the monarchy is not going to be easy. I mean, you look at Diana and what she went through, and I think that Harry is just Harry. I think is doing a sterling job. He's standing by the woman he loves and he's looking after her, and he doesn't want the same thing that's happened to Diana to happen to her. And
it was his mom.
Yeah, to be shunned out of the family and seen as the black sheep of the family. I just think that Harry's doing the right thing. So I'm looking forward to the interview. From the trailers, it's very Hollywoodized. The trailers were, it left you on the edge of your seat. But yeah, we'll wait. What
it's the 24 of interviews, Oprah interviews.
It is, isn't it? Do you know what? They could have had that clock at the end and it would have been complete.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your music, James, because I've got to say, your music and your voice is absolutely wonderful. Literally, listening to your album to work, I wanted to drive past work. I wanted to drive past work and go on a road trip. That's what it makes me feel like. But obviously not a road trip in the UK, but a road trip in the US. I can imagine myself going down one of those long roads down, Nevada, just looking at the scenery, and it's just so relaxing. And it's very... a lot of songs are quite bland, and you just listen to them and they go in one ear and out the other, and then you get the music that paints that picture in your head. Your music does that, which I think's awesome. How did you actually get
that's nice. Thank you.
How did you get into music? Was it something you always wanted to get into, or was it something that you discovered later in your career, in your life?
Well, I discovered it, when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, I discovered that, like most people in my generation, I discovered that that was something that was always going to be in my head for the rest of my life. I mean, that's what looking back on it, I want that planted that seed for good or ill, that I had to do something like that. And I think that sort of fed into me eventually becoming an actor and distracting me from the music for quite a while, actually. But when I was in high school, I wrote songs and played guitar like most kids, did back then.
And were you in bands back then? Is there any pictures floating about of you in bands? No?
No, but I did play... and write some songs like I do now, just me and the guitar, some lyric-driven, folky sort of, because I was influenced by Bob Dylan and, of course, the Beatles and the other side of it, and you can hear this in my music, is the influence that the country rock artists had, like Buffalo Springfield and the Byrds and the Flying Burrito Brothers, Graham Parsons, and those guys. But I also influenced growing up by country music. Johnny Cash and you can hear that influence too. But so I wasn't in a rock and roll band.
There's no embarrassing pictures floating about. So what's your plans?
There is one, actually. I'll share it with you sometime. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, is there any plans, obviously with the lockdown happening and is all like having a bit more time, have you been working on music since the lockdown? Have you been tinkling on the strings?
No, not much tinkling these days. I've actually been, I wrote a one-man play that was just starting to gain momentum in terms of development when we were shut down in the 6 months prior to the shutdown, and a couple of opportunities, like everyone, went by the wayside that I hope come back. But I've been working on that a lot, and I've been working on some Shakespeare. I've been doing some stuff, so I've been busy, but writing some other stuff, but not much music. It's hard for me to and I say this, but when I was on 24, I wrote a lot of songs, and I was working on the show and would come home and just play and write and play and write. So I don't know if I have just lost the ability to multitask, or if it's just there's a fallow period in terms of my music. But I know it'll come back if I have something to say.
Would you ever consider touring with your music, like doing an evening with over in the UK or?
Oh, I'd love to do that. I did it in Germany actually when I was there doing. I was at a convention. Yeah, I did a show one night for I don't know how many people were there. It seemed like 60 people in a little bar with a stage set up. It was arranged by my friend Anya, and she's a fan of the music and just put that together. It was really nice. So I would love to do that. I've done it here in Ojai. I played LA, different little venues.
Yeah.
Coffee house stuff,
Well, hopefully with the conventions, coming about now, because obviously conventions in November are being announced and they're saying that they're going ahead. Again, it's quite early doors on how that's going to work in the UK, but it'd be great to get you over at some point. And,
it would be cool if the next time Kiefer goes out, if I open for him. That'd be pretty cool to have Bill Buchanan open for Jack Bauer, wouldn't it?
That would be awesome. Honest to God,
it would be awesome.
Be the weirdest. That would be the weirdest experience.
Yeah. So if you're watching Kiefer, I'm just pitching that idea, man.
Do you know what? I'm trying to get Kiefer on the show. I really am. I've literally tried. I'm on the verge of becoming a stalker, but I'm trying to dial that back a bit.
Yeah, you want to do that? I think this is you've got a chance to do that.
Yeah.
But I understand. Yeah, you're not going to do that.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'll leave him to it. I mean, he's obviously a very busy man. But no, it would be nice to have him on the show as well, because I'm trying to get a collection of 24 guests. So fingers crossed. I've had a yes from Carlos Bernard coming on the show. I'm trying to get Mary on the show as well. Good old damn it, Chloe. Who knows?
That'd be really fun. Yeah.
Who knows? And obviously I've had.
I'll put in a good word for you, right?
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome.
Sure.
But you know what? Before we finish the interview, we've got to talk about showing up, which is the poster behind you, because auditions for me has always been one of those experiences that is either great or it's absolutely bad, and you walk away literally wanting to pack the industry in. If you could talk about what showing up is and what it's about.
Showing Up is a film that we call A Conversation About the Audition. And in it, we interview about 60 of our finest actors, some dearly departed now. But we talk about what the audition process means to them, how they go about preparing for it, what they feel like when they're in the room. So basically what we come away with is that if you're an actor, you come away with, wow, these people feel the same way I do about this thing. Or if you're not an actor, you go, oh, I had no idea that's what these people go through to get work. But you also come away with, I think, that no matter what you do for a living, everyone auditions. So, for instance, you're auditioning for me right now. And we'll see if you get the job.
If I get the job.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
So that's basically what it is. It's using the audition as an allegory, I think, for showing up for your life, basically, and how you have to keep coming back and doing that time after time, regardless of the result. Sometimes even in spite of the result, you just have to. It strengthens your resolve, or it makes you go away and get out of it forever. Like, as you said earlier.
And where's showing up available? Is it available on DVD, streaming? Do you know?
You can go to the website showingupmovie.com and order the DVD there. we've supplied, God, I don't know how many hundreds of schools with the teacher's edition, and so they can show it to their acting students and their theater students or film students. And I recommend it for not just actors, but everyone in the business. I mean, people don't know what an audition even is. I spoke to a lot of people, crew people and people behind the scenes, where they just go, I know people go into a room and the door closes and then they come out and they either get the job or not, So we just sort of dissected it a little bit in terms of, but mostly we framed it around people's feelings about it, how they personalized this thing that really is the way that, and it's a strange animal. It's not really acting, but it's sort of like acting like you never do again,
I mean, some people like the audition process and some people hate it. I mean, do you like auditioning for parts, or do you hate the process?
I don't like it. No, I never have. And I think that's one of the reasons that that we decided to make the film. I wanted to, it started as an idea of just examining the horrific experiences that actors have had in the audition process. And it became something quite different when we started interviewing people and they revealed their true, deep, and real feelings about this process. We looked at what we had with actors like Stephen Spinella and B.D. Wong and Jack O'Brien, the director, an old dear friend of mine, and they started to reveal the deepest, darkest feelings they have about what it means to be an artist in this world, and to reveal parts of yourself, and that's how the narrative through line changed for us,
I mean, do you
so
think
we let them tell us basically.
Yeah.
We let them tell us the story that we needed to tell and the way we needed to tell it, which I think it was a good choice.
I mean, do you think going forwards, the audition process is going to change completely? Because, throughout the pandemic, every actor I've spoken to has been saying that they've been doing the video auditions, the self-tapes, and they actually prefer that because they can record that as many times as they want and send basically the best version of that audition. So it's not that one chance where you stand in front of whoever and you give them your monologue or you give them the piece that they want. Do you think that's going to change going forward?
That's an interesting discussion because what the medium may change, but the basic principle of what you're doing and the connection to the material and the accuracy that you have to have when approaching the material you're given, that's not going to change. And the connection that you make with the person that you're talking to in this environment that we're in right now is not going to change. If we're in the same room, we're going to have the same connection we do here. You either have one or you don't, right?
Yeah.
So none of that changes.
Yeah, saying that though, when these conventions start, it's going to be weird for me because I've been chatting to everyone over, the internet, across the pond. It's going to be weird, chatting to people face to face and having that connection that way. But I just hope that you're right in the way of like the connection thing is going to be sort of the same. Because that's the part that's worrying me, to be fair. It's going to be a weird experience.
That brings me back. We're going to make a complete circle now as we sort of wind this down, because we talked earlier on about the intimacy, the level of intimacy that you have when you take your mask off and suddenly you're doing a scene with somebody. But that's what it's all about anyway, isn't it? We have to remove the mask, reveal, take the persona off, reveal our soul in that time that you have together, whether it's between action and cut or between us right now, or any conversation, any connection. And I think that part of that is that this whole pandemic and lockdown and stuff has revealed, the things that we took for granted before it happened. So now we're going to go back when it's over and be a little, I think, more mindful and more aware and conscious and connected to making the connection.
Wonderful words, and completely agree. How can fans follow you, James, on social media? Because your social media is awesome. I mean, you're on Instagram and Twitter. Is it? You know what? I haven't looked. Do you know what your Twitter handle is?
My Twitter handle is James P. Morrison, I think.
That is wonderful.
I guess I should know that, but
Do you know what? I should have checked that as well beforehand. So
it's at James P. Morrison.
Wonderful. So we'll get that on the site as well.
And the Instagram, I think, is J. Page Morrison, Paige.
Wonderful.
Because there's so many of us.
There is, and James Morrison is a quite a famous singer over in the UK, so it's quite difficult to. So it's quite obviously James Page Morrison. Is that what your music is under? It is, isn't it?
I think it is.
James Page Morrison on Spotify.
Son to the Boy. That was the name of my band.
Yeah,
Son to the Boy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I recommend that to anyone if they want to sit back and escape for a while and just get away from everything that's going on at the moment and escape with the great lyrics and great music. James, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much. Look after yourself. Keep safe. And hopefully in the very soon future, we'll have an evening with James Morrison with your music. That would be awesome.
Oh, live. Yeah, that'd be great if we were in the same room. Thanks, Brian. Pleasure talking to you, man.
It's a pleasure.